This video focuses on generic strategies, cost leadership. There are two types of cost leadership. In the first one, we have lower cost and we pass those prices on to customers. In the second one, we have lower internal costs, but our prices are average. So those are two different approaches to the cost leadership strategy. Basically, this strategy requires strong focus, that all the time we have to be looking at every activity. How can we lower the costs on this activity? How can we squeeze every single little penny out of everything? The thing about this strategy is that once your company figures out how to lower costs, other companies will go, oh, that's a good idea, we'll do that too. And so you have to stay ahead of other people. If everybody can basically imitate your cost strategy or the ways you figured out to lower costs, then you won't have a cost advantage. So it requires a very strong focus and constantly looking at each activity and basically outsourcing what you can. If you can't figure out how to lower the cost, let somebody else do it cheaper. Spend a lot of time benchmarking, look at other people's prices and costs. When does this strategy work? Basically, the customers want low costs. If you're in a segment where people aren't very cost sensitive, then being the low cost provider isn't really going to matter. If people want standardization, that allows easy comparison, then this strategy works well. And if there are low switching costs. So if you think about an example of a industry that has kind of made sure there's not an opportunity for standardization, think about mattresses, for example. A lot of companies have mattresses on sale, and they'll say that nobody has the prices on this mattress, and if you can find it anywhere else, we'll match the price. Well, a simple way to do that is making sure that you can't compare prices. And so when I sell mattresses to company A, I put on a cover that has flowers on it. When I sell it to company B, I add a little bit of trim on the edges, and it's solid colors. And I call them different model numbers. And so therefore, you can't really compare across the companies. And the company's going to say, wait a minute, that's model 1256B, and you have 1256C. So they're not comparable models. And so therefore, you can't match prices. And so for the low-cost strategy to work, people have to be cost-driven, or price-driven rather, and it has to be easy for them to compare the prices. And also has to be easy for them to go from company A to company B. If you think about grocery stores, for example, there's very low switching costs. I mean, you may go to one store and you're a little turned around, you can't find things, but by and large, it doesn't cost too much. And so that's why cost is such an important strategy within the grocery store industry. But there are some risks. Like I said before, once you figure out how to lower costs, often other people will say that's a good idea, let's do that too. Also, sometimes you can get too much emphasis on cost, and then people interpret your product as being poor quality. I remember people used to call Kmart K-Junk, and that was part of what they were talking about, was it just felt like it was too junky. There were too much emphasis on cost. If you look at Walmart, one of the things they've tried to do is they've tried to add some other things to their cost strategy when they've added a pharmacy, a lot more services. Basically, they're trying to make their stores seem as if you come here, pretty much any need you possibly could have, we'll sell you that thing. And so it's a little different take on cost. So basically, while cost can be a very powerful strategy, especially if customers care about it, there are some risks associated with this strategy as